Welcome to Yard Talk. I'm Doug.
Hi, I'm Greg.
I'm a trained landscape architect and I believe in strong design.
I'm a born naturalist and I think that good design can create great backyard wildlife habitat.
As you'll see, we sometimes look at gardens in different ways.
But we both agree that the natural approach to lawn and garden care is the best.
We're here to answer some of the many questions we hear from homeowners all over King County who call in to the Natural Lawn and Garden Hotline.
We'll show you cutting-edge techniques to save you time and money without poisoning our children, our pets, or the environment. Have you ever walked or driven by a garden that just begged you to stop and take another look? Well, you'll definitely want to take a good long look at this beautiful garden in the Magnolia neighborhood.
It's a wonderful example of an ornamental urban garden that makes the most of space and light while complementing the neighborhood. But it didn't always look like this. Local landscape designer Jennifer Carlson has been working hard on her garden for the last 4 years. She's been able to transform it with a lot of work on her soil and a mix of good plants. And the best part is she uses all natural gardening techniques. We are going to take you on a tour of this wonderful garden. Jennifer has a lot of natural gardening techniques that you can use at home. But first, let's talk manure.
Yeah, as long as people have been gardening, they've been tapping into this fantastic natural resource. Manure can be wonderful as a soil amendment for your garden, but because it contains bacteria, you do have to handle it properly. I got a chance to talk manure with some of King County's leading experts at the Small Farm Expo down in Enumclaw earlier this spring. I'm standing here with local gardening expert, legend, author, just all-around extraordinary person, Mary Ann Benetti, and she's going to talk to us about using manure in our home landscape.
This is the scoop on the poop. It's how to recoup. It's how to get all those nutrients out of manure, okay? And the most important thing you have to remember is you want to use manure old and cold. In other words, you want it to have sit and rot a little bit. Because with manure, the older it is, you know it's not going to burn the plants.
Now, is there some manure that is better than others?
Oh yeah. Horse manure actually has more nutrients than cow manure. Chicken manure is considered really, really hot. You want to make sure the chicken manure is old and cold. It's been sitting around for a while. And then there's my very favorite manure of all time.
What's that?
Rabbit manure. And in the industry we call these rabbit raisins. And it is slow release nitrogen. Those little round rabbit poops, they release it very slowly, doesn't burn anything, perfect for roses. Roses and rabbit manure, what a great mix.
That's great, that's great. Now, when people get home their manure, what should they do with it?
Well, it depends. If it's manure that has been aged, if it's old and cold, if it's light and fluffy, if you can actually put a shovel in it and shovel it around, just immediately put it around all the plants. However, if it's fresh manure, if it's, you would use like a fork in it, it's still kind of moist, then you want to let it rot. And what this means is you just pile it up, cover it. You always want to cover your manure and your compost because that will keep the nutrients from just, leaching away in the rain. And then after anywhere from 3 to 6 months, it should be old and cold. And then you could spread it on your lawn, your roses, your perennials, your vegetable gardens, use it on everything.
So once I go out there and I want to check and see if it's old or cold, can I just stick a shovel in it and look around and see if it's hot in the middle?
Yep, see if it's hot, or if you put a shovel in and you can lift it up, on the shovel, and it's not sticky and wet and gloppy, then that means it's composted enough. And the hotter you compost the manure, the more weed seeds you're going to kill.
Oh, okay.
So you want it to get really, really hot and then cool way down before you use it.
Now, is there a problem with manure smell or flies or things like that?
Yes, if you are having a bad smell with your manure, then it means that it's composting with too much nitrogen. You can add lime to it. More important problem with manure than the smell is the weeds. And here's why people get turned off by using manure. They bring in manure and they have all kinds of weeds in their garden. The secret is, if it's not old enough or if it hasn't composted high enough, dig a hole and bury it. In your vegetable garden, make a trench, put manure in the bottom of the trench, and then you add your seeds.
Oh.
And you cover it up, and you won't have all those weeds coming up because the manure is covered.
Well, that's a great tip, Marianne. Thanks a lot for taking time out to teach us all about using manure.
All right.
Manure does contain some great nutrients, but it also has lots of bacteria. I bet it's nothing to make yourself sick over. Just remember, compost manure before using it, usually at least 1 to 3 months. If you do use fresh manure, don't apply it to your food plants. And also avoid using dog, cat, or pig manure. They contain persistent parasites. To learn more about using manure safely, check out our website.
I'm here with Josh Monahan from the King Conservation District, and he's here to tell us about a really cool program where you can get a free product for your garden. Hi, Josh.
Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Good, good. Tell me about the Manure Share program.
Great. Yeah, it's the King Conservation District Manure Share program connects gardeners who are looking for manure for their fertilizer with farmers that have more than they can handle. And so we put those folks together. It's kind of a win-win for the gardener, for the farmer, and for the environment.
What kind of manure is available?
Well, most of the folks on our list are horse farms, horse stables, but we do also have some llama, alpaca, and some dairy on the list as well.
What's your favorite manure?
It kind of depends on your intended use in the garden. Pretty much any manure is going to be a really good soil amendment. If it's got a lot of bedding, it might be better for a mulch in the landscape. If it's low on bedding, it might be real excellent for incorporating in a vegetable garden.
Is there a cost for this program at all?
No, it's free.
All right.
All you need is a pickup, and you drive out to the farm, and maybe along the way you make a friend with a farmer.
Hey, some of those farmers have equipment to help you load your pickup?
That's right. Yep. It's listed on the list whether they have a bucket loader or not, and they'll just load that pickup for free.
So now, where do people learn more about this program?
Great. Well, they can come to our website, which is kingconservationdistrict.org, or they can call me at the King Conservation District office, 425-277-5581, extension 130, and we'll give them a list and info sheet on the program, and then they can make contacts with the farmers.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Greg.
There is another natural soil amendment that is also great for your garden. Biosolids are the treated solid materials that are left over from wastewater treatment plants. Craig Cogger from the WSU Extension has more on using biosolids in your garden.
GrowCo is a compost. It's made from biosolids from your King County wastewater treatment plants and sawdust. They're composted together at high temperatures. This kills the pathogens and makes a product that's safe for any use around the home and garden. GrowCo, like any other compost, can be used when you're establishing lawns, when you are making raised beds, or as an annual amendment in a garden bed. Some of the benefits of GrowCo: one is that it is a pretty uniform material. It is produced from the same starting materials, the sawdust and the biosolids every time, so we get the same quality every time. GrowCo also provides a slow release of nutrients to plants, and not all composts do this. We have a demonstration garden at Washington State University Puyallup where we are using GrowCo in a bed that has woody plants and perennial plants. And 3 years after the application of GrowCo, when we establish these beds, we can still see greener plants, larger plants, and healthier plants than in the areas that did not receive the GrowCo. How much GrowCo should you use? It's pretty similar to other composts. If you're establishing a lawn, you want to use about 1 inch of this. If you're building raised beds, you can use as much as 1/3 by volume. If you have an annual bed, you can incorporate 1 inch of this every year to get the ongoing benefits.
Well, we're back here today touring Jennifer Carlson's wonderful garden. Jennifer, what I'm most impressed by is that your garden is only 4 years old. How did you manage to do that?
I think the really key principle is good soil, starting out with good soil. What we wanted to do on this site, because it's on a very busy intersection, is we wanted to show people the design process, and it was a great example and great opportunity to show people how would a designer go about designing her own garden. And it's been very interesting for people to see this very humble house transform over a 4-year period, where we bring in 50 cubic yards of compost, amend the soil with the compost and the coffee grounds. We bring in the shrubs and the trees. And it's really been a lot of fun for people to see, and they come by and they revisit it.
Right behind us, another composting method that Jennifer's put together is this an amazing compost fence. Can you talk to us about how you built this and what it does?
This is a wonderful example for me of trying to reduce waste and keep all of the elements on our garden site. I don't really want to have to export any waste from our garden. I want to be able to recycle everything on site. This is a great way to use woody material that takes much longer to decompose in a compost bin. So a lot of the material are the stems and the small branches from trees and shrubs, about a 1/4 inch thick. And I used to have to take this to green waste and pay for it. Now I'm looking at things that I can put in my compost fence.
Well, it's kind of cool to look through. You see the different layers, different colors of different things happening, the ferns up there and so on. How long does this take to compost down?
I built this fence about a year ago. And this panel, I have 3 panels. This panel is exposed to the rain much more than the others, so it breaks down quite quickly. It takes a surprisingly high amount of material, which is great because it means I'll be feeding it about every 3 months. So it's really an ongoing process. And then this is totally passive composting method. You lay things at the top of this sandwiched wire in here and walk away, and it just gently feeds the planting beds on either side of the fence. So it's really a great system.
Yeah. And you also, I know you generate a lot of your own water savings on site with a pretty amazing rain barrel system that I'd like to take a look at closer.
Rain barrels serve a couple of purposes. It's wonderful chlorine-free water that comes off of your roof. You attach it to your downspout, and usually it's a 50 to 55 gallon barrel. It's a wonderful way to gather water for small pots and plants. It also showcases how much water you can actually harvest in one rain. Usually 1 barrel fills after 1 rain. It also shows you how much water you actually use. Most of us don't realize how much water we would use in the end of a hose. What I've done is I've gathered several water barrels. I've connected them with hoses to spill into each other. And then they also spill into a large stock tank that's filled with goldfish in the summer. There's a very classical element to having an entrance arbor because you're crossing a threshold and now you're into a private space. The walkway is placed on the diagonal. It's also placed at right angles so that it slows the visitor down. And on the south side, I've placed about 8 inches of leaves and wood chips and bark, and it has now become this very cool woodland path. And again, you step off the sidewalk and you're immediately feeling like you're in a different space because you're in this soft, spongy path. In preparation for our new driveway, our gravel driveway, we've allowed the chickens to graze on that grass and remove it for us. And this is a 3-year project. It's not a hurry, it's not instant, it's something that we plan ahead based on our master plan, and we just place that little chicken tractor, which is a bottomless pen, on the grass and let the chickens go to it. So they dig holes, they dust bathe, they eat the grass, they get wonderful nutrients from the grass and the soil, and then when they've taken all the grass out, they till it under with their feet in the process. Then we add leaves from a neighborhood church and we let them dig those in, and they compost their manure right on site.
Well, Jennifer, thanks again for having us to your beautiful garden. Do you have any more tips for our viewers?
I think the most important thing is to start out with a master plan, think of the big picture, and then start small. Take one small element, one planting bed at a time, amend the soil with compost if you have to, and then start selecting plants for the right plant for the right spot. When that is all in balance, your garden will thrive, and you won't need herbicides and pesticides. Everything will be in a balance.
Yeah. And basically, that's just practicing natural yard care.
One of the questions we get a lot on the Natural Gardening Hotline is what to do about moss. Now, moss doesn't bother me, but if you want to get rid of it, a few things to keep in mind. Moss is opportunistic and takes advantage of areas where grass is growing poorly. It will often grow in the shady, moist areas of your yard. The tip is to get your lawn growing so thick and lush, the moss doesn't have a chance. If the area is shady and moist and has poor drainage, you may want to remove your lawn and replace with plants better suited for those growing conditions. If you absolutely must have a lawn in that area, you can try and correct the conditions. In spring or late winter, rake out moss with a moss rake or dethatcher. You can also use a moss killer. Some are environmentally safe, but vigorous raking can be just as effective. But your best bet is to use our natural yard care prescription to kickstart your lawn and keep the moss out. The prescription is aerate, overseed, and then top dress with a good natural compost and rake it all in. Then keep the area moist until the grass is established. By doing this every year in the spring, your lawn will grow in thick and lush. The moss won't have a chance.
Moss doesn't have to be a problem. It's our Northwest native ground cover, and it really can be our friend. If you have kids, moss is a great help because it grows more densely than grass. It actually keeps kids from getting very dirty when they play on the lawn. You can also opt for no lawn and just create a beautiful moss garden. Many nurseries carry different mosses that can be a great accent to your yard. I say, celebrate moss.
Well, we've had a wonderful time here at Jennifer's Garden here in Magnolia.
And it just goes to show you what a beautiful and interesting garden you can have using natural yard care techniques.
For those of you with native plant questions, we have a new native plant guide online. You can get to it from our Yard Talk website at dnr.metrokc.gov/yardtalk.
It really is a great site. If you have questions, call the Lawn and Garden Hotline and ask for Doug and Greg, and who knows, you may see us answer it on the air.